Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. In today's Developer Insight, we will talk about the production of indie games and the best practices to market it. How would you start your marketing campaign? What kind of websites could you use? And what kind of tools would you use to bring your product to the world of social media and indie game development? By the way, my name is Roma and I'm the technical evangelist. The following video you will see was live streamed together with our very own brand manager, Jakie Kettler, who many of you already know. It's CRYENGINE. And if you are new to this series, you might be wondering what you are currently looking at. We made a cool little game project called Breeze and introduced some parts and pieces of Breeze to you in the live streams. You play as a small robot dropped somewhere on a low-poly island, trying to find fuel to fill up your rocket and return from your vacation. During our original stream event, each mechanic in the game was introduced one at a time, including some commentary from our resident developer experts at Crytek, who also work on our very own games. Now we are bringing you all of that and much more, as we are adding step-by-step tutorials to the mix, enabling you to create your own island, filled with beautiful low-poly assets, and some platform game mechanics you can enjoy. So let's start with the video.
So maybe now that it's my show, I tell you a little about what a brand manager actually does, because for some of you that might not be too apparent. So a brand manager, what does a brand manager do? A brand manager is a discipline that sits between marketing and PR. And usually that means that I am in charge of the brand representation. So what is a brand? A brand is everything that comes with a representation of a product. So not the product itself, which in my case is the CRYENGINE. CRYENGINE is a product of Crytek that we license out to developers to make us some money, of course. So my job is first and foremost the brand representation of CRYENGINE, what people think about the engine, how the engine is perceived. My daily routine is talking to the press, talking to our indie devs also, making sure that our brand representation, like the logo, the company colors, corporate identity, the brand voice is intact, and that all you guys have a good grasp on what we do, what CRYENGINE is, and that you're all well informed about our recent development as well. So that's what I'm doing for the engine, and because our product is licensed out and we want to support indie developers with it, that means I kind of become a second-hand brand manager and also community manager for many of our indie games because I like to support them. And honestly, that's the best thing for me. In the past, so my little bit about myself, I worked in AAA gaming for quite a while now, I think since 2011 actually. And I worked for EA and BioWare before. I worked for Bethesda, ZeniMax Online, and have been doing community management and social media stuff first and foremost. And with Crytek, I started as a community manager for the CRYENGINE. And that was actually my first gig where I was working with software development more than game development. And it was new to me. I had dabbled in game development, I had dabbed in game dev myself a little, like, I don't know, downloading some engine, trying to do stuff because I love games, as we all do, and everybody wants to be a game dev, so to speak. But the good thing is today everybody can, because everything is readily available, and it has become more easy to download the software, download the engine. There's many wonderful open source projects. There's student projects. You can study game dev nowadays. So that is really a great development for me. And CRYENGINE along those lines is also available for public licensing. That means everyone can just go to the website, download the engine, the full creative tool suite, check it out, and then decide if they want to make a game with it or not. So, and in this case, if you do that, then it's most likely that you will deal with me at some point.
That sounds like a threat.
That is a threat.
That is a threat, yeah.
Who knows me knows that is a threat. No, it's not. And I'm super eager to support you guys. And this is actually the greatest experience I had in my time in the games industry. Because Eurodragon, I'm scared. Don't be scared. Please don't be scared about me. my greatest achievement for me is that with my work on the engine, I can have both. I work in game development because Crytek is also a game developer, so we use our own engine for our own games, which means I'm at the pulse of all the developments that we do, which is actually great. I talk to our great licensees. I talk to the guys from Kingdom Come Deliverance, the Vulcan guys. I have so many small indie devs and teams that I support, and I help them along the way if they need it. And we help our indie developers with marketing support every now and then, here and there. So we're not actually acting as a publisher in the original sense, but I have some publishing duty because I take it upon myself to do that whenever I can. That was a long introduction.
That was a really long introduction, but I have to like, I'm instantly getting like some flashbacks as soon as you said like, yeah, I'm eager to do this because this is like my own personal preference to help the indies, and then I got the flashbacks when I back then was an indie, and you freaking helped me a lot to get my game, to people, to get my game on stages, on conferences, and no one asked you to do that, you just did it.
Yeah, we go way back actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you use the engine to make an indie game, you might end up being collared and dragged into this mess with me. That might also happen. How's your experience, Roma?
It was the best experience ever. Like, no, seriously, this was like a life-changing experience to actually work with you guys, because I started out from nothing. I was a graphic designer, and then I decided to do some freaking game dev stuff for no reason, apparently. And now I'm here at Crytek, working for one of the best companies in the world. Yeah, that's a huge jump, I might say. And I don't think I don't think
the feelings.
Yeah, let's be emotional, but I don't think I would be here without you. So yeah.
Aw.
There is huge support from that side.
Cool. So, for everybody who's in the chat right now, what we want to do today is we want to take a little look at publishing for indie developers. So, of course, some of you guys might work for bigger teams where you have several disciplines hired for certain things like marketing, networking, publishing, etc. But I thought over the years that I've been working with the CRYENGINE community, there are, of course, questions that always arise when especially small teams try to do stuff, because making a game is a lot of work, and small teams can do it. They definitely can. But it brings a lot of unanswered questions and new territory for many people, especially because game devs who attempt to make their first indie production usually come from different disciplines. Like Roma, for example, said he was a graphic designer, so of course he had design expertise, which is also important, but there's so much needed to actually publish a game. So why don't we just start, because I could talk about this for like 10 hours.
Yeah, we all could.
So let's give this a nice proper frame and do a little thought experiment here. So let's say, Roma, flashback time to back in the day when you were the indie dev talking to me. Let's take our little game Breeze.
Vietnam flashbacks.
No, don't. Oh god. So let's take our little game Breeze that we built here in the CRYENGINE Summer Academy.
Yeah.
And let's say this is your game. Mm-hmm. You worked on it up to this nice little prototype, and now you want to pitch me this game, right?
Yeah.
And tell me what you do with it, what you want to do with it.
Well, firstly, I would ask you. Maybe I would contact you before and ask you, hey Nick, what do you think where I should start actually pitching this? As soon as I have a prototype, or even before?
So, I mean, in this case, we're at a stage with our little thought experiment where you already have this prototype.
Okay, so I have it already. Good. Then
yeah, let's play it off from there, because I personally think, to answer your question, you should have something to show when you start pitching, and you should have a certain outline. What are your unique selling arguments for the game? Because most of the time, people have the dream to make money off their game and market it and monetize it.
Yeah.
So let's say that is your goal, and you had some ideas, and you put them on paper, and then you started prototyping it, you started building it. And now you're here, and imagine I would be some publisher who would be interested in this.
Okay.
And then just tell me where you at and what you got.
Okay, nice. Then I would have a really nice project for you guys in your publishing department. This is a game called Breeze, and in this game you play the amazing small robot named Hansi. Your task here is to get to the rocket ship and to get home. And the gameplay, the unique selling points are the amazing platforming possibilities that you have here. So your objective is to gather this fuel can, and then you have a course of obstacles that you need to go through to get to your rocket ship. You have 3 possible ways you could get to the rocket ship, and at the start of each way or each path, there is a fuel can that you have to gather, and as soon as you get that, you need to reach the rocket. While you're doing it, you will face some interesting gameplay elements, which are really amazing and outstanding from other games in the industry, because it's also made in CRYENGINE, and the visual capability of CRYENGINE is definitely outstanding. And those are at least my unique selling points for this project. So what would you suggest me to do next?
So first of all, I would change the name of the robot girl to Julia Robots.
Oh right, we had Julia Roberts and Emma. Right. Yeah, right. I forgot. But that's a good tip. So you as a publisher, you can also give me a tip like how to name stuff to make it more feasible for the broader audience. Hey, Alan.
Hi, Alan. The first question I would have is, okay, good. So you show me that was a good pitch in general, because you showed me what you got already. You were talking about unique gameplay elements, which you could already demonstrate a couple of for me, right?
Yeah.
Because while you were showing me this, let's say you would have a little video where you show to a publisher, or screenshots where you show what you have, what the gameplay elements actually are. You put a tag on it by genre. So you said, yeah, this is a platformer, and this is what makes it unique as a platformer. You also told the publisher or publishing person what tools you used, like you used CRYENGINE, which is good because it also brings along licensing questions sometimes, etc. And also said why you decided to use that tool, so you know what you're doing. Of course, for a publisher, it is really important to see why would this game be a success.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to be able to put that into simple words. So if I ask you, why would this game be a success, the unique selling point, as we say it, what sets it apart from other platformers, for example, it's important that you think about that and have some answer prepared for it. Are you prepared?
I am so prepared. So my unique selling points are in this case, or would be definitely the bright colors that can attract broader audiences, the really nice and outstanding low poly art, which is also really attracting to a lot of people, and of course the fun and challenging platforming that is in this case really unique at this point, because we are also using CRYENGINE, an engine that is not that is not thought of when you say the words platforming and low poly art. But here we are with an amazing looking project, and I think this is also really a good selling point that people will think, okay, CRYENGINE is mostly known for amazing projects like Crysis and Hunt Showdown, but yet there is a really cool platforming game.
Yeah, that's good. Now the question is, does this game have additional features? Like, will it have a multiplayer mode or a story mode? Will there be an engaging deep story behind it, or is there any additional goal or message with it?
So exactly, I planned for this whole game to be around 30 to 40 hours, and there will be 100 level to play, so 100 different islands, and with a multiplayer of 50 people. What do you think about that?
All right, so what is your target audience?
My target audience are that's a good question. I haven't thought about my target audience. Target audience will be so if we're going by age, my target audience will be something around from 60 to 24. I think this is a good target audience to go with for this
So you're
kind of
marketing
game.
to Benjamin Button because it's 16 to 24.
Yeah, I'm marketing exactly 16 to 24.
16 to 24.
And
I mean, Josh suggested that it is very colorful, so it might be good for a younger audience.
Yeah, exactly. So and also the thing is, as you already can see that people are expecting me to fail. For example, Alan, but I did.
Yeah.
And this is a good entertainment point. So I think since we will add 50 multiplayer, 50 player multiplayer, this will be also a nice feature for streamers out there. So those people who are streaming live content and producing content will be also my target audience.
Very good. And what are your goals for publishing? What platforms will you see this game published on?
So I think this is a really good opportunity to pitch our game, or not to pitch, but to release this kind of game to the Steam and Epic Store, I think, and also this kind of art style fits well into the Switch. Into Nintendo Switch.
Okay, cool.
SpaceX Battle Royale. Will it be on mobile? This will be also, of course, this will be on mobile because we could have a huge audience on that platform as well.
All right.
And yes, sorry, I will make the 40 hours long game with 100 levels by myself. This is my pitch. And
with a budget of 3 billion.
Yeah, this is what I'm expecting from a publisher.
Yeah.
But I think maybe you should help me to narrow down my expectations a little bit.
All right. So, as we see, we have a very ambitious pitch here. So first of foremost, what I can tell you guys is a publisher will probably not do that for you, helping you managing your expectations. So publishers get many pitches a day because everybody wants their money, and they are interested in the budget. So what would be important is that you have certain cornerstones nailed in. Some of them we brushed over here as well. So you need a genre definition, you need a title, you need a vertical slice that shows at least what you can do in terms of gameplay, which we have here. It's kind of nice. It doesn't need to be perfect. It does need to show proficiently that you know what you're doing, right? You can show this with a little demo. So this is picture perfect. You should have something like this along those lines when you go to a publisher and present it in a feasible manner. But then you also need reasonable expectations for where you want to go with this. In this situation, we talked about adding multiplayer and tons of other features and stuff. And that is actually quite common for people who want to do a game for the first time. You should manage your own expectations before you tend to go to a publisher. You should define a team size that you're aiming for, even if you don't have the team yet. Say Roma made this game as one person over the course of X time. The publisher doesn't usually care how much time you spend on it, and is now at this point. He should be able to also talk to the publisher about a time expectation. So how long will it need until it's finished? How many people he wants to hire or does have hired, and the budget he wants, right? So because the publisher needs to know what's in for the money, what's in for me, And how likely is this to succeed? And do the people I want to support know what they are doing? Because for a publisher, that is, of course, a big risk. In this situation, I would suggest we strip down the most ambitious concept and also talking about releasing on different platforms. Not every game works on every platform, so it would make sense to think about, with my target audience defined, which is maybe younger people, where do I want to put this game? And does this game have everything to keep younger people engaged? If it's a kids game, for example, it's not just the age rating, it's also how complicated and in-depth are the puzzles. Is there a learning approach to it? Can kids learn something from it? Will it be exhausting and frustrating or very addictive? Will it have, what will be the way I monetize this? Will it be a full price game? Or will it be a free-to-play game? Do I want to add microtransactions to it at some point, etc., etc.? So that is all stuff that some of you guys maybe didn't think about when they had their first idea of a game, which is understandable. But it also shouldn't be an afterthought because it's immensely important. When we do AAA production, we need to settle down and make an art design and a design for a gameplay loop. The core gameplay loop needs to be defined, and we need to make sure that the game stands out against competitor games. So you always should look at the competitor landscape as well. See what other platformers that are currently popular or have been popular in the past are doing, which platforms they release on, and what you want to do. So for this game, let's assume that we want to bring it to Steam. And what I would suggest is probably, because we are small, we're looking at a small indie team. And one good thing about smaller indie projects is they can take risks, actually. They have a lower budget, which means they can take certain risks. They don't have to aim so high as to making a multi-billion sales game. Because if it doesn't have a AAA budget or a AAA release, and that usually means AAA means you have a certain 100,000s budget or millions budget, and you release on several platforms at once. I mean, the definitions are kind of fluid. While an indie dev, so an indie developer, is usually somebody who self-publishes, but then again, many indies look for publishers. But it means that they usually have an independent studio that is developing on their own behalf and maybe then pitching their idea to a publisher. While a studio that is publisher-owned, for example, usually has to pitch to their publisher that owns the studio. And then the publisher has a lot of influence on that, what they are making and what is actually getting done. As an indie developer, of course, you still need to acquire funding. So maybe you cannot find a publisher who wants to support your unique idea. If you want to take risks, what I like about indie games is that some of them look at places where AAA design cannot look at, because it's too much of a risk. They target minority groups, for example. We could do a game that targets people who have certain disabilities and makes it easier for them to access the game. So an easy accessible game, for example. Or a game that targets story mode and lets you walk in the shoes of some minorities, for example. A game that explores ableism or racism or whatever. And that are big opportunities for indie games that can be easily tackled and also pitched. And in the occasion that you cannot find a publisher who's interested in your game, you can also revert to crowdfunding, for example. And let's explore the publisher idea for a moment and then maybe look at what we could do in terms of crowdfunding, because I think that is a big dream of many people, to be able to stay indie, be independent, not have to bow down to a publisher, because it can also be a great risk. A publisher will take some of the control you have over your original idea away. There's also certain legal things that you need to get a hold of, like if you have a game, if you make a game and it's your unique IP, so intellectual property, you might want to save it from being taken off your hands, because your sweat and hard blood goes in there. But some publisher deals might require that they own the IP in the end, or they have certain control over it. Publishing deals can extend as much as publishers getting cuts off merchandise, additional media production. So if your game becomes a movie or something at some point, your intellectual property is turned into a movie. Of course, that's thought along the road. And if you start with a small project like this, you might not yet think of it, but it is important to keep in mind, because if you enter a publisher deal, you might have to sacrifice certain things. But you and your team, you should definitely discuss which things you're willing to give up and which things you want to hold on to, definitely. And that should also be a team decision if you already have a team, to make sure that everyone is on board, because many indie teams start out as a group of friends, obviously, and then they start to make a professional project together. And I have seen friendships fall apart over this. So I would say maintain a professional ways of communication over the project, define certain do's and don'ts, and then you just are clear before you enter negotiation. Yeah. So also on the publisher thing, there are many different publishers. How do you get to know a publisher? I would suggest taking your demo out there, do some research on which publishers there are, what games they have published, and look for someone who has done something along the lines in their portfolio already. Because publishers tend to have a certain portfolio. They stand for it with a name. There's of course the very big ones like EA or Koch Media. They do many things, support many disciplines, but there are smaller ones like Devolver Digital, for example, who have a reputation for just publishing very crazy games, that are very unique and have some crazy spin on it.
Yeah, Devolver's crazy.
Yeah, so if you would pitch this game to Devolver, for example, it probably needs more blood and gore and I don't know, bananas.
Yeah, bananas, definitely bananas.
So they would probably not look at the pitch, or they wouldn't come back to you, but that doesn't mean that your game is bad. By the way, FYI disclaimer, I'm not speaking for Devolver Digital. This is just me, there's just conveying my observations.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the most important thing is networking. Put yourself out there, write to publishers, go to events if you can. I mean, currently because of the pandemic, most of the events are digital, but still go there. Put yourself out there, show your demo if you can. Invest a little money if you have to do this. Get the opportunity to go to networking parties, networking events. Choose a spokesperson for your game that is good with people and can also talk about it a little. Have a decent pitch deck so that publishers can take that home with them and review it properly. That has all the bits and pieces and information we were talking about earlier. And make it clear and concise. Just put the best and most important stuff in there, which is sometimes difficult to do because your heart and soul was inserted into that project. And there's this writing phrase that writers and editors have. It's hard to kill your darlings, right?
Yeah.
So one thing I would always propose is take your pitch deck and give it to someone who doesn't have any attachment to your game, the product and brand you are building, and let them rip it apart. Let them be harsh and truthful with feedback. Maybe do that with a couple of people. Always remember you don't have to take everyone's feedback, but it will give you a very unique perspective on how other people perceive your pitch deck and what they think is over or underrepresented in there. And then you can take it back to the drawing board and get a fresh perspective on it that you just might not have, because we're people. It's the human condition. We do something that we love, especially with games. It's all about the passion, right? So if you have this passion project, you probably need someone else to look at it, to rein you in a little. And I think Omar still has PTSD from when I did that for him.
Yeah, you could put it in that way. So the thing is, when I was a dev, when I was an indie dev, and I'm still kind of am, at least I think of myself as an indie dev in some ways. I made a huge mistake on aiming way too high. I had lots and huge ambitions for my game, and that was a problem. And it took me quite a while to realize that my ideas and my vision of the game was maybe in the range of a double A studio. It was way too high to achieve for me as a single developer, and that's something I had to really learn the hard way. So definitely You listen to people that give you feedback. Not to everyone, but you have to look at your project from a third perspective, I would say. Not just your I'll call it the tunnel vision, because it's your baby, it's your little thing that you created. But look at from the perspective of other people who doesn't know you and haven't heard about your project at all, and just listen to them.
I just see, so Dragoncast Josh said something. Oh, big tip I was told in the past was make sure you own the IP. A publisher won't buy you IP rights in most cases. Yeah, that's correct. If you want to market and monetize something, you have to make sure that you have the rights to do so. So there's some legal stuff to think of as well. A lot of people they are fans of some games or franchises, then they want to make a game about it. We get those pitches sometimes as well. And it's just, you have to make sure that you can do that, especially if you want to monetize it. I can't tell you how many ideas about new Stalker games we got and are still getting. And that is a problem. I mean, the Stalker IP is a problem in and of itself, because that isn't an easy one to begin with. And there's several other things that are difficult. Star Wars fan games, for example. Star Wars is owned by Disney. That is a very difficult thing to tackle if you want to make fan media for Disney IPs. It's very strict usually, so just to not disappoint you guys, you have to do some research there if you want to work with an existing IP. I also remember this Jurassic Park-esque CryEngine game, which is a very cool project where someone built the whole park, and I think they did some research and found out that they could recreate the parks and the assets from the movies, but the dinosaurs couldn't be recreated because they were IP locked, so nobody was allowed to make fan art of the Jurassic Park dinosaur models. Something like this, I think. So that was difficult because this person spent a lot of time to make this park, and which looks exactly like the Jurassic Parks from the first movies, which is incredible. And then they couldn't put dinosaurs in there. And then, if you already spent a lot of time investing work and passion into a project, and then at some point you were like, oh right, wait, what about that? And then it can be very frustrating and make a lot of work go to waste, actually.
Yeah.
And with original IPs, of course, you have to protect them. So that is a different story. If you start with an original IP, you have to look into licensing and copywriting and that sort of thing. FYI disclaimer, I am not a legal representative, neither of Crytek nor anything, so I cannot give you legal advice per se. I cannot just talk to you about some things that I have seen, my own experience and expertise, but this is by no means a legal advice. I would always advise you to get proper legal advice in your country and where you want to publish, to look over your endeavor once you want to publish it. Because that is just, you might have to take some money to go to a lawyer and give your project an initial pass on certain things like copyright issues, etc., and look into if you need a copyright filed, because that also costs money, etc., and taxes and all that stuff. But that's just a general point of view that I want to convey. Many people don't think about this, or they think about it too late.
Yep.
Because it's not the fun part about making a game. But I definitely advise you to keep it in your thoughts and look into it at some point.
Do you have questions in that regard? In that regard, guys? Would making an early prototype trailer and market it to the players attract publishers? What?
Yes and no. So when we are going the publisher route, a publisher can do many things for you. They can, and the kind of publishing deal that you strike is you have to see what you're after. If you're after just plain investment, it's sometimes difficult because the publisher wants something out of it. Sometimes you can get a lump sum or whatever. But some publishers are into acquiring certain IPs. And some publishers just want to make sure that the deals they acquire are exclusive. Which means if you go public with an IP you have in mind, some publishers might automatically not be too attracted to it anymore. That is a risk, but of course you can take it, because the thought behind this is naturally, if I put something out there and it goes viral, right, then publishers must think this is good, and then I have attracted, have already proven to them that I can create something that is good by default because it went viral. The reality of things is most of the time things don't go viral.
Yeah.
If they go viral, they usually do that for completely different reasons than you would expect. And not always is viral content actually a beneficial thing for the original creator. Talking about marketing, viral marketing is a buzzword that as a myth, I would like to demystify. Maybe. So there are several, like you can look that up on the internet. There are several artists, for example, 2D artists who had posts go viral with their art because their art was relatable content. Relatable content means for some reason, even out of context, it just appeals to a broad audience. And it means that many people who just see this will engage with your content because they find it relatable in their current situation, and give it a signal boost because of that. Most of the time out of context. It also usually means that people, even if you were the poster who originally posted it and you're the creator, people will probably take your content from you, repost it without any credit given to you, and then it goes viral without anybody knowing that it's your content. I mean, it's getting a bit better in certain bubbles, especially on the internet and on social media. People try to link to sources more, give some credit to artists, but it's still incredibly sad to see that many artists are just getting cheated out on their achievements because their content goes viral and they have nothing from it. The other thing is that viral content also usually is an in the moment situation, and most people don't care about what your background for the thing is, so they perceive something out of context and they don't really care about what the original context was. So yeah, many artists have spoken on their blogs, etc., over what happened after art of them or creations of them went viral and how little revenue stream or acknowledgement and engagement was in the end given to them and the other content they produce. So when you put a game demo out there and you start attracting people with it, or that is your goal, let's talk about that, and also maybe go away a little from the finding a publisher route and maybe into community building and crowdfunding. Or do you guys have specific questions about what I said so far?
Sorry says, that's interesting. I thought publishers would be more interested, but what you're saying totally makes sense. Okay, that's not a question. Sorry, I thought that was a question.
Teskariel says, tip from an analog game design book. Don't tell the people you're asking for pitch deck criticism that it's your pitch deck. You're just doing this as a favor for a distant acquaintance because you can't say no to people. That way they have less compunctions about ripping it apart in your face.
I didn't understand that quite.
That's actually, I think that's a good, I think that's maybe a good tip actually. Analog game design book. I guess it's probably about tabletop RPGs, right, Teskariel? Tabletop RPGs and board games are actually also very valid game design projects. So, and creating the logic for them is similar to actually creating game logic for a computer game. So it is a different medium, but some of the things are actually interchangeable. So that is also a good tip I can give you if you're looking for game design tips and you find video games being a bit inaccessible because they are expensive and they're expensive to make, so game design communities are sometimes a bit more closed, or they keep knowledge to themselves sometimes, but it's actually a good hit to generally look at other game disciplines that are a bit more open. There's a huge indie game scene for tabletop RPGs, for example, and they're usually very open and share their knowledge, so that is also a good way to go into other different communities, interdisciplinary research, so to say.
I am not bored. I just want to entertain you guys while Nick is talking. Like it's I think it would be just also not really nice if you just had to stare on a picture. That's why I'm just doing stuff on the side.
It's incredible, isn't it?
But I'm not bored at all.
I love it. Yay, physics.
Yeah, physics. Visual food, exactly. It's just visual food.
What Josh says is also very true. Viral content is normally a case of the right place at the right time, and it's almost impossible to gauge when that will be. And you have a production pipeline and you have a game to make, so you can't wait for when somebody thinks this is the right time to go viral with something. But of course you have to go into marketing and how you want to make your game known. The internet today is full of white noise. Yeah. There's so many games to play, there's so much to do, there's so many Netflix series to binge and whatnot. So it is a complicated thing to actually... You're actually competing for the two most valuable resources human beings have nowadays. Number one is their time, and number two is their money, of course.
Yep.
Because the time we spend with games, for recreational purposes, of course, but that time we don't spend with friends, or if we do, the friends need to be in the game as well. We usually don't spend it with family, etc., or we play games with our family, but you know what I mean. So you have to see, how can I attract an audience that is willing to play my game? Which is odd, because we all love playing games, and there can't be enough good games, right?
Yep.
But in reality, there already are a ton of great games, right? People always want new stuff. You have to see how you can breach through and find that target audience of yours that we were talking about before. I see another question from Sori Daijin. Sori Daijin, is that right?
Sori Daijin. Soka.
Yeah, buddy. How do you prove that you can be trusted to a publisher?
That's a great question.
If that's your first game, do you have to first release other games without a publisher? Do they look at the developer experience? Sometimes they do, actually. But the thing is, there's always a first time, right? I mean, having a student project, a little prototype, and already having developed a small game with a group of students, for example, or a group of friends, just something very simple, very manageable. If you have that in your portfolio, you have proven that you could bring a project to a full cycle of production. And that can be the littlest thing. It can be Snake or a Little Island game or whatever. It doesn't have to be anything special. But to be fair, I think publishers most of the time look at your pitch deck, how professional it is, what language is used, and how promising your ideas are. And how realistic are your expectations in terms of building a team and your budget and how you want to release something. If you look at a portfolio, that is also important if you want to work in games. So portfolios like this are super important. Having a little game on your resume, if you want to work in the AAA industry, for example, that is where this is definitely very important. I would provide a roadmap of what you have done, are planning to do, and the time frame in which it is expected to complete. That's a very good comment there from Cutline.
Yeah.
Because that shows that you know what you're doing, you have a plan. To be fair, every plan falls apart in production, and everyone knows that. Yeah. It's actually a miracle that AAA games still happen. I celebrate every AAA game. The more people work on a game, the more of a miracle it becomes that it actually comes out and it is great. So everybody knows that that plan will probably fall apart, but you still need to have it. And ideally you even have a plan B or C or whatever, but having a solid plan for the beginning is very important. I agree with that. That is good advice. Novdice says, is it easier to get a publisher if you release a game and sustained growth in sales? I don't quite get that. What do you mean with this?
I don't understand that either, to be honest.
Maybe they can elaborate a little on their question.
Yep, that would be awesome.
Game Dev Made Easy said, so what are the general things you should be able to answer when initially coming up with your game concept and marketing in tandem? So is this more about in general for production, or are we still talking publishers? Because if we're talking about in general, then I would probably take the corner here and start talking about general marketing thoughts, ideas, publishing, community building, and that all leads to crowdfunding as well.
Yeah.
In general. All right, then let me take that corner here, and dive a little into the other topic. Oh, what Nova means is if you have already released a popular game, does that make it easier to find a publisher? Certainly. I think that will certainly be the case. To be fair, I am not, we're not a publisher. I mean, Crytek is self-publishing some games, and we have had some indie games with publishing. We worked a lot with publishers, of course. But everything I am saying is just my experience I have seen in the field. I personally have reviewed and helped people with their pitches, but I'm not in the publishing business, okay? So another small disclaimer here. If you do all I say and the publisher still says that's all bollocks, then that probably depends on the publisher still, right? I'm just trying to talk to you from my general expertise. So yeah, I think that this will definitely help, because if you already have a history of success, then publishers will probably think, yeah, this makes sense. We want to invest more money here. I think it's the same as in Hollywood. If you have a director who has made games, games. Yeah, directors make games, game directors. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if you have a movie director who has made several successful movies, of course, if he's pitching an idea, then influential publishers will probably trust them, because it's a matter of trust, right?
Yeah.
But that's also why networking helps. If you don't have a super successful game already, because everybody starts at some point, it also helps to get in touch with people and get to know them, right? And have people who can vouch for you, maybe, as well. Okay, so then maybe let's move on from the publisher idea, because I'm minding the time here. This is, like I said, I could talk about this for ages. So let's go a little into crowdfunding. I thought crowdfunding would be super popular with you guys, honestly. So, marketing your game and why crowdfunding hits right there and then as well. So, if you make a game, think about marketing, please. Nobody does. I know for a fact, but please do it. It's important. It also helps you to, from a marketing perspective, it also helps you to rein in your ideas, actually, because if you feel that something has a good chunky size to be sold well, in some finished assets and some text and editorial, then that usually means it's a good idea as well. If you struggle to come up with marketing text, etc. for your game, there's probably something missing, or you yourself have not thought well enough already about what is actually the unique selling argument and what do you want to do. So it's really important for you guys to nail that down, and thinking about marketing early will help. Also, marketing usually is ridiculously expensive. Yeah. Like I said, you want to combat this white noise out there, and you want to know what's what, and you want to reach an audience that is actually invested in playing your game. You have to start early. Exactly. So this says, don't wait until you finish it. That's it. You have to come up with the initial idea, and then the storyboard and the unique selling arguments first. And then you have to start attracting a dedicated community. community management and building is the most important thing for indie developers. Be shameless. Start with your friends. Like, rein them in, make them help you promote your game. You be shameless and charming as much as you need to be. Roma is an expert.
Yep.
I can tell from experience. And without being obnoxious, just create a fan base for what you already have. It has never been so hard and never been so easy to do that nowadays. We live in very interesting times. But yeah, you start out with an idea, a group of friends. You settle down for the basics. You have your little pitch deck as you have it right here. Now you have to settle for, what do I take from here to actually make fans of this game? So make a little demo, maybe. Start a forum, a website, a Discord server. Start attracting people, let them tell your friends. They tell their friends. Word of mouth is very important. Start making them feel like they're part of a community. Have some community activities. There we go back to the viral thing and relatable content. Find your target group. Go where your target group is. And then show them what you have. Start telling your story without giving too much away from it. And start building a group of fans that will be your advocates for success when you start marketing your game. Because nobody will have a successful crowdfunding campaign without already having a good community going.
Yeah.
Take to social media. There's so many free ways to market your game. When people tell me, hey, we have this game and we have this little chunk here, we have this vertical slice, it looks really good. We want to do a Kickstarter now. Do you have any tips? Then I'm like, how many followers do you have on Twitter? And when the answer is, we don't have a Twitter account yet because we didn't feel like we had enough content to put out, then my answer will be, well, you should start thinking about that first.
Yeah.
Because nobody succeeds just because they're on Kickstarter. Unfortunately, that isn't how it works. Some Kickstarter projects make it look super easy, but doing a successful Kickstarter is so much work. You have to build a community, you have to start putting up marketing assets, you have to have a brand design, and there we go, because now your little game has to become a product. And where's the difference between a game and a product? What we have here is kind of a game right now.
Yeah.
It's a vertical slice that we have in the editor, and it's a little game, and we have talked to you guys about it, but so far none of you guys has. So if I ask you now, what is this game actually called? Can any of you tell me what this game we're building is actually called?
This is actually a great question. So, yeah, guys.
I'm waiting. Yeah, just that's cheating.
I can.
So we have some
Third person animation tutorial. Ellen, I will kill you.
Robo-chan in Paradise, Tropical Toon Island. Lavi got it right.
Yeah.
Lavi says the game's name is Breeze. And that's correct. We have mentioned this a couple of times. But as you can see now that we're streaming, our focus is on the CRYENGINE Summer Academy. So our whole branding here on this Twitch channel is about CRYENGINE, because that's our product first and foremost, and the CRYENGINE Summer Academy, which is, hey guys, we're building this little game with you. And you can see it in the top right corner of the editor, which is what Ellen suggested. At the moment, the build we're working on is called, the level is called Tropical Toon Island something something. So this game isn't yet a product. It becomes a product when you start making additional product decisions over it. You make a name for it, you give it a logo, you give it custom colors, you start making assets, marketing assets that you share with people, so that people start in the back of their brain, they start remembering little bits and pieces about the broader story of the game.
Yeah.
They start remembering the title because you start mentioning it more often. They start associating certain colors with it, etc. You start sharing little snippets from the story, for example, when it's a story-driven game. Without spoilers, you start sharing some art. So you start with that great relatable content I told you about. That makes people curious about your game. And you start building brand awareness for the product that you're doing actually letting people know that this is becoming a product.
Yep.
And isn't just something you have seen, and that it is here to stay, and that it is here to really become its own thing, right? Just looking at the chat real quick. Do we have any questions?
The game's name is Breathe. Eastern European. Ellen, go. I cannot say it here, but
no. Behave. Behave, you two.
I will F you up, dude. A lot of Kickstarter disappear from the face of the earth when the Kickstarter is successful, and later you see them complaining that they don't have money.
Yeah, so Kickstarter, you have to see that crowdfunding as a person. So if you are, I actually don't know what this is called in English, but I mean, Kickstarter is crowdfunding doesn't mean that you will necessarily see a result, or that you will see the result that is promised. And unfortunately, that is a reality of things. But of course, if people are getting burned from Kickstarter experiences, they are less likely to invest in more Kickstarters. I personally always have seen it that way. If I invest into a Kickstarter, I feel like this is cool, the team seems cool, they seem to know what they're doing, I like the idea, I want to support them. I have the money, and if they don't succeed in the end for some reasons, they can keep my money, I'm fine with it. That is how I approach Kickstarter projects. Because I just know how ridiculously steep production can go wrong sometimes.
Yep.
And if you don't have huge fundings or huge backing, it's just difficult and complicated. But of course, if you launch a Kickstarter, you want it to succeed. So you don't want to start making excuses for yourself. You want to set it up for success, right? So if you want to start and launch a Kickstarter, you have to start looking into marketing for your game first. You have to build a community. Bring community members on board who become your brand advocates. Those brand advocates should ideally come from the key demographic that you have in mind as a target group for your games. So if you're doing a role-playing game, target role players. If it's a platformer, go to platformer communities, etc., and try to market it that way. Make marketing assets that actually show these unique selling arguments that are most important. I know you want to show off everything, but don't do that. Just focus on the key variables that you want to actually attract the audience for. And then when you do that, you can, and you have acquired a solid following. And I usually say a couple thousand followers on Twitter, for example, would be good, definitely. Because those are the people who will most likely see your announcement when you start a Kickstarter. So apart from the fact that you need a nice little vertical slice, a demo, you need marketing assets for the Kickstarter, you need goals, stretch goals, you need to plan all of this. It's so much work. Yep. So don't underestimate it, guys. You need all of this to keep people invested in the Kickstarter as well. And we will not start talking about the purchasing incentives here, because how to give proper Kickstarter incentives for people to back higher or lower tiers of your Kickstarter would be its own thing. Yep. So I'm not going to go into that, but that's all customer psychology, basically. You can read a lot about this, actually, also. There are many blogs and some Patreons as well. Patreon, by the way, also great crowdfunding opportunity. It's not a one-time thing. It's if you have attracted a user base and you keep developing your things, you can also try to launch a Patreon. But I would say be careful with that, because people who support your Patreon will expect content updates every month. Yeah. And then you have to calculate for the fact that somebody needs to create that content as well. It can be draining. If you're in for a marathon and not a sprint, you can use Patreon. For those who don't know it, Patreon is a web page, a crowdfunding web page where you can set up a support stream for people who support you with money on a monthly basis. And that can run forever. So it's not a time thing like a Kickstarter. But like I said, don't underestimate the Patreon needs, because also there, if people want to should support you with their hard-earned money for months, they need constant content that it makes it worth them for backing you up there, basically. So yeah, that if you want to do that, you have to calculate for this in development time as well. So yeah, but for the Kickstarter, if you have all that set up, the first frontier of people who you need is your brand ambassadors, and that's the people who are already following you along the road for a while. If you have 2,000 Twitter followers, then 2,000 people, in theory, will see that you announced a Kickstarter. The real-time conversion rate is actually not that high. So from 100% of all people who see your post made, how many people will probably engage with it, and how many people will signal boost it? That conversion rate is usually pretty disheartening sometimes. I don't have estimates or averages because that is difficult to gauge, but just say, so for example, if I send a marketing newsletter, to 300,000 people, the so-called conversion rate, and conversion rate is that marketing term that means the people who actually opened the newsletter and clicked on your incentive link, for example, leading back to your product, right? The usual conversion rate, or what is a good conversion rate, is 2 to 3%. So, I mean, it depends, right? This is just if you have a very broad target audience, obviously, which means the more now I'm missing the word in English. Oh my dear. So if you have a very broad target audience, so if I fire a newsletter to everyone who's a Crytek fan, right? My conversion rate for the engine will probably be pretty low, because the engine is a very dedicated tool, right? Most people who follow Crytek, they probably follow Crytek for the games, because they're gamers, they're interested in games, and game design is interesting for them, but not as interesting. So they're probably not going to come back to us. So that is why, for example, for the CRYENGINE, we have our own channels, we have our own target group and audience. Also, when we send newsletters, right? Because who likes spam? Everybody gets too much of it nowadays. So that is why I said your target audience is super important, because if you want to have a conversion rate that Lavi suggested of 10% or 16% even, which is a good conversion rate, you need to have a tailored targeted audience. So you don't want to spam people who aren't into your game and what you're doing. And therefore, it is so important that from the beginning you start attracting people who fall into this target audience, right? Because marketing costs money also. A tweet is free, but sending a newsletter in most cases costs some money, even if it's not much. So when you think about marketing, you want to think about these things as well, and just don't be disheartened if conversion rates are low, or if engagement rates are low and your content doesn't go viral. Just make sure you stay consistent and positive and analyze the results. Most social media platforms give you great analytic tools. There are a couple of third-party tools out there that you can, just Google and look for. Some of them cost a little money. Some of them have free subscriptions as well. Some of them are subscription-based. Some of them have free models or trial versions as well. Just try them out, because it is very important to keep a look on your key KPIs and what you want to achieve. If you send something out at 3 p.m., for example, European summertime, and you see there's not a lot of engagement, so not many clicks, not many likes, not many comments on that post, then you might want to try a different time zone. So you might want to look into the analytics, who's following your channel, where are these people, are they probably on a different time zone? Simple things like that. It is a lot of work, and it's impossible to give you the method of it all. It's a lot of experience, it's learning by doing. So yeah, the broad overview is build your following, start building with free marketing, like, Twitter, forums, websites. I mean, a website might cost a little if you have to host it yourself. Discord server is free, and Discord has some great programs as well for developers to verify their servers, etc. Although they're changing all that right now. And calculate the time it actually costs to interact with your audience, because this can be taxing. Doing a live stream is a lot of work.
Yeah.
Keeping a Twitter audience engaged 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year is a huge undertaking. And you always have to find this fine line between spamming people with content and actually keep them attracted, right?
I hear from every big artist that they never expect more than 1%. Yeah.
Conversion rate, you mean? Yeah, that is true. Because like I said, it is difficult, and especially social media marketing is free, but it's very difficult to attract your targeted audience. That is the fight you have to be fighting first and foremost. And that's why I said be charming but shameless in actually making your friends help you out there. Because you can't do it alone nowadays.
Yep.
And a small indie studio won't probably have a lot of money to spend on Twitter advertisement or Google ads or anything. And that stuff is also complicated. Unfortunately, I can't give you I don't have enough time to give you I can't give you a solid overview of what to look for when you do paid advertisement, because that's a whole different story. And I'm actually not even a performance marketing manager, so that is its whole own discipline. And by the way, mobile games. Gosh. I once had seen a very interesting talk about marketing in mobile games and performance marketing in mobile games. If you can get your hands on something like this at some conference or some such, get it. Do it. Because mobile games have a very short life cycle. There's a lot of money to be made in mobile games with little effort on the game development side, but it's all about the marketing actually. And the marketing machinery behind mobile games is crazy and super interesting as well. So let's say even if you're not making a mobile game, if you can get your hands on some insider talks or something dealing with marketing in mobile games, that will give you some stellar, mind-blowing advice for how to do certain things and how certain things work. Not everything is applicable to other games, of course, but oh boy, that's really like the key discipline of marketing.
Yep, I agree with that. So also one thing I can maybe recommend doing, guys, is if you want just to get started or to get people's attention, there are also a few good platforms, like not only Twitter and stuff, but there is a platform called IndieDB, so Indie Database. That's at least where I started, and this is like a really great page to get people, to get your name out there at least. I really recommend this platform for you. It's completely free, and you just kind of post your game there, and you get weekly ratings on, or even daily ratings on how many people visited your page, and as you kind of get a higher score, the game will be more visible to other people. That's definitely something I can recommend doing.
You know what else I can recommend?
Let me hear.
Giveaways. People love free stuff, right? So if you have free stuff to give, that is always a good thing. But most of the time you only have that when production has already started and you have some things. But you know what? Who wants a giveaway right now?
Oh, that's a good transition. That's a really good transition, Nick. Who wants free stuff?
Yeah, who wants a free t-shirt? Because we have t-shirts. So we have t-shirts, actually. I don't have a picture of them, unfortunately, but they have the CRYENGINE Summer Academy logo that you can see here on stream on them, and they're actually super cool. So what do you say, Roma? I opened the giveaway again, and we take a couple more entries for the giveaway.
I like that idea.
Cool.
You should definitely do that. This is by the way the name of the project that I'm doing right now. I have a new name. The rolling ball thing is now called like this.
Oh god. Talking about brand voice, I just love that. With our brand name, CRYENGINE, we have been the butt of many jokes, of course, but now I can say it. I can be like, just cry for a t-shirt.
Yeah. Okay. Just cry for it, guys. Cry for a t-shirt. For crying out loud, guys. For crying For CRYENGINE out loud.
CRYENGINE out loud. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, let's. What should we talk about next? Like I said, I could talk about this stuff for hours. I hope it's interesting for you guys. Do you have specific questions? I mean, of course, I can answer some more specific questions when it comes to. Why is Jesko calling you Rowan all the time? By the way,
I don't know. My name is Roman or Roma.
Yeah. It's funny.
But it's okay. I like Rowan Atkinson. It's fine.
20 plus years in the making for Nick to say "cry for a T-shirt."
Yeah.
Well, then that would have been in the making since I was 10 or something. So not as long, but yeah. I like that phrase. Let's talk a little about CRYENGINE specifics for a moment here, because this is still a CRYENGINE stream, right? So first and foremost, if you are a game dev and using CRYENGINE, is there any specifics that you would like to know about CRYENGINE and what that means? Because sometimes we get questions about licensing and marketing, etc. So maybe somebody has specific questions here.
Yeah, that would be good to know. You are what you eat.
Novi Dice says, this is a lot to take in. Is there a checklist? Well, so it's kind of my dream to put together a PDF which I can send to our indie devs with some kind of a checklist pitch deck for all the things, the general things that you need to keep in mind. I didn't have time to do that yet. But I will probably do that, because that is all stuff that I want to extend to our indie devs. I want to support them. So I will hopefully this year try to make this PDF and then maybe send it out to indie developers on the engine to help them out a little. I'm always happy to answer some questions on Discord as well, as you know.
Exactly, guys. So I automatically
Can you elaborate
changed
more on simulation games?
That's.
I'm not.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit? What do you mean by simulation games? So we can elaborate on simulation games.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
could you tell me about releasing assets on the CRYENGINE marketplace? Could you elaborate on that also a little bit more?
You can release assets on the CRYENGINE marketplace. Yes, it's no problem. Just go to CRYENGINE.com and to marketplace, and then there's a tab actually with. So on the marketplace it says browse marketplace, and then there's also asset submission guide. So the asset submission guide there will show you what you need to know, and our marketplace terms as well, which is important before you start selling there.
So I automatically changed the M in Roman to a V, to W, to become Rowan. Yep, you just flipped it. That's the thing, you just flipped it. You yeeted it.
Yeeted it. Cool. So maybe that's so for CRYENGINE games, and general for games. If you decide for an engine, you should take a little note on attribution. So if you use any game engine, you probably, in the terms of that game engine, there will probably be some terms about attribution. So make sure that, and also partner software, right? So if you use software for developing your games, some of the software will have attribution rules, which just means you have to, in your marketing assets or your actual game, you have to kind of attribute to that this tool has been used in your game, and then put the logo somewhere or whatnot. And that can also be helpful, because if you do that properly, you sometimes can also leech some marketing efforts from them as a partner. With us, that works like a breeze. Because if you do that properly, you can get some marketing and signal boosting from us, for example, if we do that. So what we do is on our news blog, for example, we like to give highlights to promising indie games. We do social media posts on our social media following to help people get noticed, etc. And all you have to do really is you have to check the licensing agreement for CRYENGINE. The licensing agreement can be found here. And then the next hot tip, once you have decided to use CryEngine and start making a game like Breeze, and then you're in this state and you start doing all the marketing shenanigans and you start actually planning for production, what you should definitely do is you should register your game, right? So it is a bit hidden, and I'm asking our web team to maybe make it less hidden. But some people don't know that if you want to actually make a game with CryEngine, it would be perfect if you would register it first. You need to do it if you want to monetize it, but you can also do it if you don't want to monetize the game, because we can still help you with marketing, etc. So that is the link that I just posted to our CryEngine game registration. You will find it on any page on the CryEngine.com website. When you scroll down to the bottom where the imprint is, etc., there you will find this little button that says register your game. And once you do that, there's in this box, there's also in this form, there's a checkbox that says marketing support. If you tick that box, I will review it and I will consider you for additional marketing support. Like I said, we're not a publisher per se, but we can do that for some of our indies, and we are happy to do it.
We help our indies, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. And some middleware, even some middleware providers, software will sometimes have that. If you give them proper attribution, it makes sense to reach out to them, do some networking, be like, for example, I don't know, I'm using Fmod in my game and I have this cool game sound, and I'm willing to also promote Fmod while I'm working on my game. You can reach out to them, and sometimes the marketing departments will be happy for it, and then you can get some sweet attribution as well, and shoutouts from already established brands, right?
Yep. That happened quite a lot in my time as a dev. For example, I had a great personal relationship with iClone, the company called Reallusion that provides the software creator, character creator, and iClone. And then when I joined Crytek, we established a really good relationship between us, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely recommend reaching out to all the companies that you want to work with. I've also reached out in my personal time as an indie dev. I reached out to Houdini, and even Houdini were eager to help me in a few cases, but you have to remember that they get a lot of requests like this. So
Yep.
Make it special, make it something that's unique, but also don't get frustrated if they say no, because again, they get a lot of requests like this every day, and it's completely normal and a completely understandable reaction if they say no, because they have to see there's German saying, musst du sehen, wo du bleibst. They have to see where they stay, you know, they have to also make some money. So it's not always a positive reaction, but it's still something that can happen. And again, don't get upset if they don't, or if they say no, that's completely okay.
There's another question from Yoru Dragon.
Let me read it.
Could you talk about brand professionalism a bit too? Like how you should act toward the community and in news updates, etc. That's a very good question.
I agree. Yeah.
So, one reason why a community manager is one of the single most important people you can have on your team is they are your shield. A community manager, even when they are part of the team, should shield the developers from interacting too closely with the community sometimes, because like we already said, it is your baby, right? It is your darling. You spend so much time with it, the hard working hours, etc. A community person, a community manager, will have a role that sits tightly between 3 different branches. It is super important. Sometimes very underrepresented or undervalued role, in my opinion. The community manager sits between PR, so public relations, marketing, and customer support or customer satisfaction, CSAT, as we say. And a good community manager can do so much for you. It's insane, because you need to communicate about your game. You will receive criticism and feedback. And the community, once you have acquired it, will have opinions, and it's the human condition as well. They will sometimes be mad at you. They will have harsh criticism. They want to feel like they are part of it, and they should be. And having a dedicated person to do that and manage that brand voice of yours towards the community is a good thing. And it's even better if it's not yourself, if you're the developer. I cannot stress that enough. I know it's hard, but you don't have. It's just very hard to have the professional distance to your product that you're working on.
But you need that distance.
Exactly, you need that distance, and it's like this super fair. We're all human. If you spend so many hours and sweat and tears to bring something to life, and then somebody is like, from the off, is like, yeah, the textures are a bit muddy, aren't they? Like, this is not really good art or something. And you're sitting there and you're like fuming. You're like, yeah, god dang it, like, I was working on this so hard, and then my computer spazzed out, and then I couldn't have the 4K textures, and do they even know how much work that is? And all the blood and rage in your veins, and it's like, stop right there.
Yeah,
you shouldn't have to deal with this. You should have a person who knows the things they need to know about production and are part of it, and the community manager should always be part of the production team, in my opinion, one way or another. And then this person needs to have the expertise and the communication skills to mediate between the production team and the community. And that is incredibly important. There needs to be professional communication. It needs to be friendly, upright, informative.
Yeah, professional.
There needs to be respect. Respect is the most important rule. Respect your community, because they are potential clients, right?
Yeah.
Of course, clients get entitled as well, because that's kind of what you want, right? You want people to feel special because they're part of it, and they are. Like, our community is so special to me. I love our community. We have a great community, but managing their expectations and ours is one of the most important jobs you can have, because mismatching expectations are the single reason for frustration, disappointment, and you have to come to terms that sometimes you will have expectations that are wrong. You will miscommunicate them, and then it's just important that you have a good community person who has a professional brand voice and attitude to actually do that. Especially because small indie teams usually don't have customer support as well. I mean, don't get me started. You have to think about stuff like this at some point as well, because if you start selling your game, people pay you good money for it, and then they want customer support. So if something isn't working, you should have a person who is there to help people solve their problems to a certain degree. So that is also important. But first usually comes the engagement with the community while you are building it. So yeah, I cannot stress enough the importance of having a good community person on the team. And that is actually worth a lot of money as well. I know indie teams often don't have a lot of money, and that is often an afterthought, but it really shouldn't be. Does that answer the question?
Hey, Nuri Power. So I think hopefully this answered the question, and we're getting close to the end. So if you guys have any questions, please shoot them at us. Shoot them.
And I want to, yes, shoot questions. Then we need to close the giveaway, and also, I just want to take the opportunity, because we didn't talk a lot about publishing on platforms now, because like I said, I could talk about this for hours. There's so much to talk about, but I want to use the opportunity to stick in one of our indie games that I adore.
Oh,
that is a good example for how to bite-size what you do, how to have a good plan for the team size you're having, and how to have a good representation and also community engagement here. So let me see if I can put that here. Can I put this? Yes. So on Steam, there is a game called Heathen, the Sons of the Law.
Let me open that real quick. Let me open that real quick.
Yeah, you can show it. I put it in the chat, but show it.
Heathen, the Sons of the Law. And of course, as a good friend of the developer and a good, I don't know, something. I own the game, so I definitely recommend.
See, vouched for. Absolutely vouched for.
Yeah, it's just
Jetzt
awesome.
spielen. Learning German with Roman.
Yeah.
So Heathen is a game that was made by two dudes, like just two dudes. It's a French team. And it's based on the novel The Island of Dr. Moreau. And it is a very interesting little indie game with a great art style, actually. Maybe we can play the trailer after the stream as well.
Okay,
I can ask Jeremy to add it to the trailer show, maybe.
Sure.
Start downloading it now, Jeremy. That would be perfect. Yes. So Heathen is a passion project of just two guys who are doing this in CryEngine, and it's just an incredible thing for the time and effort that they put into this, because this is not their main job, right? The art direction is fantastic. It feels and looks and also sounds like a French comic book come to life, based on classic literature with a twist, which is really fantastic. But it's a small game. If you scroll down, I mean, you see it has positive reviews, but it only has like 67. That's way too less, guys. That's way too less. So everyone who's here, please try Heathen. Just do it, guys. At the moment, it's just $15 or something, and it's really worth it. Try the game and leave them a review. Even if you have criticism or feedback, just leave a nice review and give them nice feedback. Because these guys, they are working so hard, and it's just incredible. They are French, so that means the English translation is sometimes a bit rocky. Yeah. I enjoy the Danger Sharks, for example.
I did the German translation.
You did that?
Yeah, part of it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow! See, so you can blame Roman for everything.
Oh, no, wait. Yeah, I just help those guys because those are just amazing two guys.
They are fantastic. You know. And as you can see here, so it's a two-person team. They have worked on this incredibly hard for ages, right? And they have they want great quality here. I mean, of course, you can see it's an indie game. It's a bit small, so it's not AAA quality, but it is really good for what it is. And they are constantly working on it. They are good with feedback. The art direction is fantastic. What they achieve with just two people is just great. And you can also see that they decided to go for an early access title because, as they can only work slowly on the game, they decided to release it in episodes. So, and that is a good way to deal with this as well. If you want to go for a Steam release, you can think about doing an episodic style game and starting to get some revenue in through Steam so you can keep developing the game. But in the terms of Heathen, for example, and I love those guys. Like if they're watching, like kisses and hugs, right? It's just fantastic. I just see that those two guys, they would need a bit more representation on social media because almost nobody knows about the game, right? So that is maybe the tip I would give them, and I don't want to bash them in stream. Like I want to point that out. It's just the reality of things. If you only have two people, it's just incredibly hard. That's also why I'm giving them a shout out right here. Just they have a Twitter account and they have all of this. It's just a lot of work that cannot be underestimated to feed all of these things with content, because the content needs to be produced as well. And these guys, they don't really have the power to do it. So by all means, please chip in, try the game. If you like it, reach out to them, leave them some feedback, write a review. It's so important. It means the world. And if you want to become a part of the project, you can also do that, I guess, and help them out if you want. And you can review their Steam page as a good example for how even a small team can do good customer communication. And like I said, English is not even their first language, so sometimes they struggle a bit. Also, good attribution right there. That gives you shout-outs in stream from us. No, but yeah, this is just a good example.
CryEngine.
Achieved with CryEngine. Iconic sounds. Yeah, thanks for bashing our logo, Sunlock. Thank you.
What? Sunlock. Just wait until Nick gets some hands on you.
Feels so 2006, da. Yeah, no worries. You will see.
Look how amazing this screenshot is. It's
Yeah, it's
blue.
great.
God damn it. Steam.
So,
Oh yeah, there.
god damn it, Steam. Yeah. So I have to close the giveaway now, right?
Yeah, please do that.
So guys, cry for a t-shirt, last round. If you want a t-shirt, cry now.
The time has come to
Yeah,
release the t-shirt.
I need to type something, I'm sorry.
Yeah, type that. So type type exclamation point cry in the chat if you want to win a free shirt.
Last chance, ships worldwide.
Yeah. And you get a hug for free from me.
Yeah, from me too.
But like just from a distance, like 1 meter away.
Social distancing hug.
Social distancing hug, yeah. Yep, 3D and wants a t-shirt.
Some things never change. Alright. I think guys, you had enough time to cry for a t-shirt. We're closing this now. So.
And the giveaway is now closed.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to do a drum roll?
Yes, yes.
Okay, let me know when I can start.
Start the drum roll. And the winner is... Lavi!
Lavi! Congrats. Congrats on winning. With that drum roll, that was amazing, right?
Oof, that drum roll. Very professional drum roll.
Indeed.
I always call him Lavi. I do that because I stopped right there because his full I don't it's like 10 years, no, I think 13 years in the community, Lavi that is, and I still cannot pronounce his username. I mean, Vascotia is the name of the studio. So yeah, I don't know.
No, I'm not even trying. Vascotia? Lavish. So,
Lavish.
and guys, of course, if you want Yeet, it will be available on all the platforms. It will be available on Google Stadia, on Nintendo DS, on Dreamcast, yeah. Atari, yeah. Your refrigerator,
Raspberry Pi,
yeah. Your
everything.
Deodorant. You would play the Yeet game. Is it Windows XP compatible?
No, just Windows Millennia.
Yeah.
Just Windows Millennium, not XP.
Yeah, N64, yeah, Windows ME.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It will be available everywhere, and you can get it only for the cheap price of $99.99.
And your soul.
And a little bit of your soul, a little bit of your blood as well. But just a little bit. Don't worry.
I feel like we're forgetting something, but I'm not sure what it is. So, didn't we want to do something else before we close the stream?
I've completely forgot because Tascariel said deodorant-based games is totally the future.
Yeah. I mean, we have to breach with stereotypes, right?
Yeah.
Yoru still wants a t-shirt.
Maybe the next time in the upcoming future streams. We don't know when, but they will certainly happen. You will get a shirt, maybe.
Yeah. So guys, if you have questions, ask them now or on Discord. One of our moderators, I'm sure, can give you the link to the Discord again. We're sticking that a lot. But the Discord is actually, this is our community platform. It is our main community platform in a way. We have the forum as well. The forum, you can also go to the forum. If you're old school like that, that is also perfectly fine. But I feel like the most people are active at the Discord server usually, which means the community is great. Everybody helps each other for the sake of t-shirts, free stuff. You know how it goes. I just explained all that to you right now. Yeah. And Lavish, for example, has been a moderator on our forums and the Discord, and he's been in the community for like 13 years. He's a great brand ambassador. He's just a perfect sweet guy. So this is what it means to be in our community. You get to know cool people who can help you with engine stuff, etc. And there's also a licensing channel in there where I answer questions on licensing. We have in our Discord, we also have a channel where we have CRYENGINE games. So if you have a Discord server, you have a verified server, you have a CRYENGINE game, I subscribe to your game channel on Discord with our Discord server as well. So definitely come there, check out other cool CRYENGINE games, help each other. That is also very important. So if you're a game dev, do cross promotion with other game devs. That is super important. Just build communities also among game devs, which we also try to foster there. So yeah, come there, ask more questions if you want to. As I said, I will try to make it happen and make a PDF that has condensed information, because I know this is a lot to take in. Before we break it down into several topics, and then we'll try to make this available and hand it out to CRYENGINE developers. If you're doing a project on CRYENGINE, no matter if it's non-profit or monetized or university or cinematic or whatever, just make sure you register it on the page I just showed you. And like I said, we'll try to make that register button more obvious next time, because that's how I can actually gauge if I can help you guys with marketing support and stuff. So definitely check that out if you're working on a CRYENGINE game. It requires a website, so a link to somewhere where is an outlet where I can see where your game's at currently. Like I said, I need to see a proof of concept, kinda, also for the game registration. That website can be anything from a forum post, your own website, an IndieDB entry, as Roma mentioned before, or even a Steam page if you already are on Steam. All of that is valid. Please need some merch. Yes, yes, yeah. We're actually setting up a CRYENGINE merch store in the next couple of weeks. We already have the designs ready. They are amazing. I can't wait to share them with you. And
Did
we
Denzel
just have
make
to...
those?
Yes, Denzel, our
yeah,
graphic
yeah,
designer.
yeah. That's awesome.
Denzel is amazing. He did all the Summer Academy logo and all the graphic assets for the stream as well. I put him to work so much. I have to apologize, give him a week off or something. But he did such a great job. So yeah, some of the designs are from Denzel. Some of the designs, I can already tease that, are some older designs that you guys really love and wanted us to bring back. So you also have something to look forward to in that regard. Questions? Any more questions?
Yeah.
What is a sunlog?
What is a sunlog? What is an engine? Yeah.
What is a sunlog?
We don't know yet. The thing is that I already said that a couple times already. I will only wear clothes now that are designed by Denzel, because those are freaking amazing.
That's why Roma never wears pants.
I will never wear pants. Not even if I go to work. I just never wear anything.
You're laughing, but it's true.
It's true. Yeah. People. Well, first people were kind of disturbed about it, but then they were distracted, and now it's all fine.
Yeah, we just got used to it.
Yeah. So in Crytek, people accept you as you are, and that's lovely.
You're all lovely.
I wanted to make a joke about Ani, but I think no.
No. Don't. Just don't.
No.
All right, guys. Thanks for being here today with us. It was really great. I'm sorry, but I have to have words with Roma now. So yeah, this concludes our first 10 streaming sessions of this CRYENGINE Summer Academy, which is actually worth a ton of applause, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So good job, team. Thank you so much for doing this with me. I'm so glad that we could finally launch the channel and that you guys in the audience have so much fun with it. So that is actually fantastic. Thank you so much. So much.
Thank you for watching, guys. If you enjoyed that episode, please leave a thumbs up. That helps us a lot. And if you are new here, consider subscribing so you won't miss any of the future episodes. And maybe you have currently a project, a little game that you're working on and you need some help with it. So just contact us through social media channels or our official Discord channel. Everything is linked in the video description down below. So if you have a project that you might need some help on, you don't maybe know how to market it properly or what are your next steps are, just let us know. We are really happy to help you with that. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye-bye.